Recording.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Southwick Conservation Commission meeting on Monday, December 7th, 2020. Live and brought to you by Zoom. We are recording the meeting, so just so you know, if you want to be a part of the meeting, you're going to be recorded. If not, you're welcome to drop off. So, Dennis, I have the agenda in front of me. Is there anything you want to open the meeting with?
I think you have to do the roll call for attendance. Is that correct, Gene?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, okay. So Dave McWilliams is here. Brian Drennan,
Here.
Marissa Cook Obregon,
Here.
Brian Pranka.
Absolutely here. Sorry I'm late.
That's fine. Norm,
I'm here, but I
Doesn't
don't
count.
count.
he doesn't count, that's true. And Ryan Nelson is joining us from R. Levesque and Associates as well. So we have enough for a quorum and we're going to move forward.
Do you have minutes? Did you send the minutes out to everybody, Gene?
I did.
Take a peek at those. Anybody have a chance to read through the minutes from last week?
I did
Did you find anything?
a couple small
Brian,
things. Couple.
Yeah, of course.
Here we go.
Oh,
Okay.
boy.
Sorry. Under the first RDA there, Vining Hill Road, second line says Mr. Searle presented a plan to repair a failed septic system. I think it's supposed to be a failed septic system.
No, it was filed.
Okay.
It was both filed and failed.
It was a failed filed.
Perfect. And then on the last page, or under Swamp Trail, it says Coordinator Clark that there were no new progress on the project, or there was no new progress.
Should be stated that there.
Something like that.
Yeah. Stated, noted, there was no new progress on the project.
Noted. Okay,
That's it.
that's it.
That's it.
Anybody else see anything that needs to be addressed?
I saw everything that Brian did, so I'm good.
Okay. Anybody want to make a motion to accept the minutes with adjustments?
I'll make a motion, accept the minutes with 2 corrections.
Brian Drennan made a motion. Who wants to second it?
I will.
Brian Pranka seconds. Marissa?
Aye.
Dave? Aye. The ayes have it.
I would recommend going over the either new business or old business because we still have some time before the 7:20 hearing.
Yeah, that's fine. You want to start off with the dock renewal request for a variance?
Gene, that's your. you've been taking
You
care of.
guys got the documents. It came from the owner of 101 Lakeview Street. I scanned it to you.
And that is 2 properties down from where the brass rail used to be.
Right, it's
Places down
Tricia
from.
Koss. And she sent a letter saying that she would like the extension. She filled out the variance form, the 6.2 annual removal of dock form. And she gave a little explanation. Can you see her letter here?
Yeah, I went to try and share it. It's acting a little wonky for me today. Let me see if I can share again.
Gene, did that go to Norm? Did that go to the LMC for?
No, I'm sorry, Norm, it did not. I should add you to our stuff. I will for the next meeting, okay?
I'd appreciate it.
Are
Okay,
you gonna see
sorry,
it on
Norm.
screen?
So yeah, we should wait before we get an LMC, until we get an LMC recommendation before, is that something that needs to be done right away or?
Well, it's ice out. Ice out is December 1st. It's December
Right.
7th.
Yep.
you know, we could
But she-
continue this until the next meeting, until the LMC has a chance to look at it.
Yeah,
She's-
this is
she's-
the one that we approve every year, right?
No, she's a brand new
No?
owner. She just bought the property.
Oh,
But is it the same dock or it's the
Yes.
same dock? So it's just
Yes.
this is a renewal of the variance is what we're looking at? So I think
Yes,
it's already been, then that would have already been, well, I don't know, probably still should go to the LMC for
Okay.
the
yeah,
recommendation.
do we know the prior owner's name?
I don't have it in front of me, sorry.
Okay,
So they're saying that it would greatly disturb the ecosystem of the lake to have to remove it, and that they believe there's muskrats living underneath the dock. The docks continue in good structural repair. So, I mean, Norm, typically is the fact that there's muskrats swimming around a reason enough to keep the docks in the water over the winter?
I've never heard that excuse before, but there's usually a hardship involved.
Yeah, well, I mean, all I'm seeing for her hardship, and listen, I don't care if she keeps them in or not, but I'm just saying her document says that the hardship would be, it would disturb the ecosystem and disrupt the muskrats. And I don't see anything in her document that says they can't be removed for a hardship.
So wait, I'm sorry, does that imply that we're trying to keep the ecosystem intact for the muskrats or?
Well,
Right.
good question.
Okay,
Yeah, they are supported by a combination of wooden posts and galvanized metal posts, which have been set into the bed of the lake. To remove them would greatly disturb the ecosystem of the lake. Having now been at the home for almost a year, I can confirm that is highly likely there are muskrats which live under the dock, as we have continuously observed the animals travel beneath the dock and not come out. The docks continue to be in good structural repair. As such, it would be our intent to continue to maintain the docks in place as long as possible to not disturb the muskrat habitat underneath.
gotcha. Okay, so that is the goal
But
to,
if muskrats haven't been confirmed they're even there, they could be just traveling.
Norm, do you want us to wait till you talk to the LMC before coming up with a
Well,
decision?
I think we should, because I think this was, I have to go back in time. Last year, I think it was a hardship. I think it was an elderly man that couldn't get it out.
No, it
And,
was the same people that owned it
Oh,
last year. They just purchased the property. And last year asked for the variance. The Conservation Commission granted the variance
Right.
only for 1 year. So now they're asking for a second year.
Okay.
What was the variance
Um,
first year?
The same basic thing, that it's a dock made, you know, with galvanized metal, and that it's not easily removable. And it was just a newly purchased piece of property that they really didn't have plans or, you know, the ability to remove this dock that's kind of cemented in stone there.
But there was no muskrats last year, right?
No, they didn't mention muskrats last year.
So new neighbors.
Listen, nobody wants to disturb the muskrats, but you know, if the dock's a hazard, the dock's a hazard. You know, probably as much to the muskrats as anybody else, particularly in the winter. So why don't we table this until next meeting, Norm? Or when you have a
Okay.
chance to speak to the committee. Norm.
You want to
Will
make a
do.
motion to table the annual dock removal request?
Please, I'd like to make a motion to table it till the next meeting. Anybody want a second?
I'll second.
Brian Franca, what say you?
I say table it.
Ryan Drennan?
aye.
All right, I as well. Why don't we just go ahead and table this to the next meeting?
Okay.
Gene, can you forward that letter to me?
Yes, I
please?
will.
Thank
I
you.
will do that for you tomorrow, Norman.
All right.
Dennis, we have 4 minutes before the hearing. Why don't we talk about the MAC conference dues or MAC dues?
Yeah, it sounds like a good idea. Gene?
That's all they're basically saying is that there's a slight increase in the operating costs, and the annual dues will be 293. Do you want to have the committee make a motion to approve the annual fees once the bill comes in? That way I can just pay it without having to wait for another meeting.
Yeah, I think it's our primary source of continuing education, correct?
Yes.
So I think if we want to keep up with what's going on in conservation as well as what's going on in the state, yeah, I think we need to absolutely sign up. So I make a motion that we continue to pay for this out of our budget.
I'll second that.
Brian Pranka seconds. Marissa,
Aye.
Brian Drennan.
Aye.
Okay.
That got that done in a minute. 1 minute.
The North Pond signage, Dave, I don't know,
Yeah.
you've been part of it. It's not signage, it's just the one sign that we were requested to put in the parking area.
Yep.
General rules and regulations, and it's getting a lot of opinions from commissioners. And I don't think we've got actually it resolved yet. It's what we're gonna, I'm not even sure if we can put closed at sunset on there. I think conservation restriction might not allow that, so.
Right. Right. So why don't we just spend a minute and talk about the format, and then we can worry about what the content's going to be.
Yeah.
There was 2 formats. One was the single column, and then there was one that had 2 separate columns. I think from all the emails I saw, most people were looking for just a single column. It just seemed to be an easier read.
I sent a copy of that along with the estimate. It should be attachment along with the minutes in the
Yeah.
agenda.
Yeah, $105.36 for a 18 by 24.080 aluminum radius quarters. Yeah. So I apologize. I wish I could share my screen. I'm not understanding why Zoom's not letting me do it. But I think, does anybody have a comment about the format?
I think that we should stick to the format that we've been using on the other signs to keep it consistent, the single-sided, single line.
Okay. Anybody disagree with that?
No.
No dissenters? Brian, dissent. All right. So Dennis, what do we want to do about getting clarification on that closed at sunset? And I know there was conversations about the no standing on there.
Once we decided on the format and the other wording on it, all the wording on it, I'm going to send it to the Fish and Wildlife people to get their approval.
Where's that going to go specifically? Right at the beginning?
Yeah, it was requested that it was, I think it was Michelle and Chris thought we should have a sign right up in the parking area before you go in, just so people are clear on what the regulations are.
So I might make a suggestion that we have one on the beach where the boats pull up. I mean, it seems as though we have as many people coming into that area via boat as we do via foot traffic.
Agreed.
So with 2 signs then?
I'd like to see 4, just because there's multiple areas where you could park along the road, and there's multiple areas where you can put a boat.
I think if we're trying to set a message, we want to send a message to the majority of people that show up there. And granted, there is that one access area that seems to be the primary, but Brian's right. There are people that come to that area through multiple means. So maybe we do get a few of them. Who's the printer?
Southwoods.
All right.
I
Can we
mean,
get,
or you're probably going to get a better price per piece anyway.
I was going to say, can we buy in bulk?
Right?
Well, yeah, once they got the template, it's the rest of them should be cheaper. Yeah.
I would think so. The first one's the most expensive one.
And we also asked for it to match the big sign that we have for a green background with white lettering.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, so we're going to still have to figure out the wording on that. Dennis, can you just find out about those restrictions and what we can put on?
I
Like you
will,
said,
I will send them what we, a draft and ask for their comments on it.
okay. And then next meeting, we can finalize that and get it printed off.
Sure.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. So next thing is we have a hearing. And the hearing is for an NOI at 115 Fred Jackson Road. Construction of a single-family dwelling with other site improvements, a portion within the buffer zone. So are we moving forward with that?
This is the continuance. It's gonna, and Ryan is here tonight he asked for another continuance, but I think he wants to do a little bit of updating on what he knows.
All right.
Ryan from
Sure. Hi, everyone. Ryan Nelson from RLA. Gene, do you mind enabling my screen sharing, please?
If I knew how to do that. How do I do that, Dennis?
Did it get shut off?
I did, because I tried to a couple of times as well, Dennis. No luck.
Oh, when you set up the meeting, Gene, I think you have to push that button that enables other people's screen sharing. Doug, can you tell us how to do it from?
Yeah, just make him a co-host.
Can you
okay.
do it now? Or can I do it now?
Yes, if you right click on his name down the the right side of the attendees.
I right click on it?
Or click on his name and then there's a little thing that says more, and I think you can say make co-host.
No, it says ask to start, allow, record, rename, put in waiting room, or remove. Chat.
Wait, I got one that says make co-host. I'll do it.
You got it?
Okay, Ryan, you should be a co-host now.
Yep, got it.
Sure.
Thank you. All right, so last time we had talked, my coworker Philippe presented, this is a project at 115 Fred Jackson. This is for Kevin Solek's property. Right now, there's currently a hayfield out near the frontage of Fred Jackson Road. There's an existing logging road that goes to the rear portion of the property that's forested. He wants to put a single-family home at the rear of the property. We had initially delineated the wetlands and done an existing conditions survey in the spring of 2018. Since then, there's been some disturbances on the site, and we just wanted to better survey those and incorporate those into our site plan, put everything on the table, include mitigation, replication, and restoration for those areas. Just give you a brief recap of some of those areas. It's probably best suited to do a site visit at some point to review all these, but first and foremost, what I've been told has always been a logging road that goes to the rear of this property. Within the past few years, Mr. Solek has improved the road. And one of the comments from Mr. Stinson at DEP, he's questioning whether or not the road that goes through this segment here filled any BVW. We don't know. We surveyed after the fact. But assuming worst case that was BVW, this was connected, this southerly BVW to the northerly on both sides of the road. That in conjunction with a small sliver of BVW that was recently filled by the placing of stockpiled material. We roughly have about a BVW disturbance of about 3,600 square feet.
Wow.
We'd like to try and replicate that somewhere on site. We don't have an exact location picked out yet. We were hoping at the site visit we could go over some options. We think our best option would be to the north on the back side of this wetland. It would be located outside of NHESP habitat, which is this polygon line here. It'd be taking advantage of like kind of an open hardwood area that transitions to kind of a brambly successional field edge over here off site. But anyway, that's just one potential area we can look at. There's also This is coming down the logging road before you turn. There's a clearing that was made. This dark black outline here is the limits of soil that has been dumped and stockpiled there, assumingly for the prospective project when they install a driveway and do site grading around the home and whatnot. So it's just temporary storage, but still nonetheless, it's in the buffer zone. So for this project, we are proposing that all this material be removed. It be restored to existing grade. The area would be loamed and seeded with a New England Wetlands Plants conservation mix or something equivalent. And then some tree plantings, red maples, red oaks. There would be some site grading involved alongside the driveway because of the topographic change. There's kind of a gully right here. We are managing stormwater to some degree, even though it's a single family home. There would be a yard drain next to the driveway that would catch sheet flow coming off this gentle hill, be routed underneath the driveway, and then back down the logging road gully as it was before. I'm not sure how much Philippe went into this last time, but we have a proposed house location that's been staked out on site. Septic system would be located to the rear. Our 2 perks are located here. There's be some fill around that to get enough breakout distance from the slope. There's a driveway turnaround provided here per common driveway requirements. And we did make the revision that this will no longer be a 4-lot A&R or subdivision per se. This is now going to be 3 lots. You have a conventional frontage lot, lot A right here. You have a common drive lot right here, lot B, but that does have frontage. And then your estate lot C is located here in the back. So we're still waiting for feedback from NHESP because this project is located within their jurisdiction. But in the meantime, hoping to set up a site visit with you guys and we can review the wetland areas and discuss and look at maybe the best area to do the replication and also look at these disturbance areas and what the best course of action to fix them would be.
Didn't this one get kind of rained out when we were looking to do a last site visit?
I don't think
Didn't we
it was
already-
staked out, Dave. I think that was the problem.
that?
I think it was missing stakes and stuff. We asked them to stake it out. Yeah, I think, and there was also a list of questions we had during the last meeting too.
But I think they wanted to, really wanted to get these violations out of the way before they turn into real violations. Right now, they've made them into part of the project and we can go, if the commission decides it's a good idea, go in that direction. If we had gone out and proceeded without these new plans, it would have had to turn into a violation and that would have just made it really messy. So I think that, what they're doing here is better than what we could have done with an enforcement order anyway, because it looks good. And tomorrow I have a call tomorrow morning with the Natural Heritage. They emailed me and asked to discuss the project with them. So Ryan, if you could get me these plans, these new copy of the plans, it would be great.
Most definitely, sure. Yep.
And
Okay. Yeah, let me know how that goes and if
yeah.
they need anything.
So then why don't we put on a calendar event for a site visit? Right? So Dennis, you think I know this wasn't the one we were concerned about, the delineation because of the time of year. I seem to recall that.
Well, this kind of moots that. I mean, the delineation is the area that they're looking at now, saying that maybe that was filled in and maybe those 2 wetlands are connected. And that was the area of contention all along. I
Right.
mean, the rest of it is fairly obvious and I don't think there's any issues with that. I mean, I still want to do a site visit, don't get me wrong, but Ryan,
Okay.
is all that stuff marked in the field and all the new
Yes.
stuff?
In probably end of October, I refreshed all the wetland flagging and it's accurate. I'm pretty confident in this site.
In the place where we don't have a place where you want to do the restoration yet, right?
I have a preliminary area. We could
Okay.
go off of flag numbers, but yes.
Good, then, yeah, when can we do a site visit?
So the time of year makes it tough. Obviously, afternoon site visits are almost impossible because of the time of the sunset.
Hmm.
So we could either, I don't know how many people are available during the day, or we can look at possibly doing it on a weekend morning, a Saturday or a Sunday morning. Is there a preference?
Weekend morning would be great if we can do it for me. I don't know, anybody else?
I could do Saturday morning. It'd be fine with me. Sunday either.
Saturday's good for me too.
Saturday's tough for me. Dennis, is this the one with the endangered species too?
Yeah, I got a phone call with them tomorrow to discuss the project, so we'll know more when, well, we'll get the new information to them also, so they're updated.
Dennis, you available Saturday?
Yeah,
AM? Hey, Brian, how about yourself?
Franca, no.
I'm away. We're away this weekend.
Well,
Unfortunately,
good for you.
it's right across the street from my house. I'd love to take a walk over there and see it, but I'm not around Saturday. I have some flexibility during the week this week, during the day, but Saturday I'm not around.
Well, again, I could do, actually I couldn't. Yeah, this week would be tough too. Why don't we, so I know there's three of us that can do it on Saturday. We could reach out to the rest of the crew. Why don't we tentatively put it on the calendar for Saturday morning? And
What
if
time?
anybody else has changed,
What time?
9 AM?
I'll
Ryan,
send an email out to all the members. See who's available.
okay. Ryan, someone from your group, can they join us?
I can try. Yep.
All right. Okay, so what are we looking for here, Dennis? Just, this was really informal anyways. It was a continuance, correct?
Yeah, just to approve the requested continuance to the next meeting.
I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the request for continuance for 115 Fred Jackson Road.
I'll
I'll
second.
second it.
Oh.
Sorry, Marissa, how do you vote?
Birthday. Aye.
Ryan Pranka?
Aye.
All right, there we go. Continued to the next meeting. Thanks, Ryan. Do we have anything else for Ryan?
I think that's it, right, Ryan?
I think so. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yep. Have a nice
Take
night.
care.
Thank you, Ryan.
All right. Let's go back to the agenda. North Pond signage, we've done flexible resident subdivision open space planning board regulations. That's enough. Dennis, you want to tell us what we're talking about on that one?
The conservation restriction that they put on flexible subdivisions, the planning board has specific details, kind of specific details how it can be done. And it hasn't really been working out too well for most of the subdivisions. And we're trying to come up with some suggestions. I discussed it with Alan Slessler, the town planner. And I thought maybe we could put a little subcommittee together, but Alan's dead set against any more subcommittees, so,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Well,
But we could put one together if, the Conservation Commission wanted to.
it kind of has to be unilateral between the two groups, all right?
Yeah, I suppose.
And Alan's one member of the planning board. Is anybody else open to having the conversation?
Marcus
Does it have to
might be.
Alan?
Marcus might be. Maybe Marcus would be interested. I know he just took over the Lexington Circle issue, so he might be a little busy right now, but
Oh, the cell tower?
yeah, I guess the
That'll keep
chair.
you busy.
Chair stepped down and Marcus took over. But anyway, what I can do in the meantime is I can send off all the information I've been putting together with the open space plan throughout the years about how it's done, how the open space is done in the different options, and the commission asked me to look into what other towns do for their open space.
Right.
So we'll start working on that, get that to the commissioners, and hopefully somebody else, somebody on the planning board would be, I did mention it to Marcus today, but like I say, he's a little busy right now.
Okay. Now, did you say the chair of the planning board, he stepped down, Mike?
Just from the hearing.
Oh,
Just from-
okay,
Just from the hearing.
okay.
I guess there was a maybe potential conflict of interest as he lives somewhere.
He's a resident of the area. Yeah, I get it. Okay. All right. Dennis, I'm looking at old business.
Yeah,
So which one do you want to tackle? Request for a
Well-
certificate of compliance?
the certificate of compliance, Granville and Fred Jackson Road, which has been on the agenda for probably a good year or so, is done, completed. It looks just perfect. And we can thank Randy Brown for doing that because Randy held back the final payment on it until this contractor it was like pulling teeth, but he did it and it looks really good. So I would
You and I
recommend.
took a look at it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Went out there with Randy. We went down there and took a close look at it. Looks like a stream bed, just like it's supposed to. They did a nice replication of a stream bed. So I would
So do we
recommend,
need a motion to accept the certificate of compliance or provide it, I should say.
I would recommend that.
Okay. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to provide a certificate of compliance. Now, is there a bond also that needs to be released?
No, No, it was a town project, so we don't request bonds on town projects.
Okay.
Anybody want to second Brian's? Second Brian.
Well,
So Brian and Brian, Marissa, how do you vote?
Aye.
Dave votes aye, so that's all ayes. Dennis, New England Scenic Trail ADA grant status, Appalachian Mountain Club.
The last I heard, the project started in the last week of November. And I don't have a status on it at this time, but I'll get out there this week and take a look and see how things are looking.
I may take a walk out there too. I mean, I've seen some heavy equipment down there, so I'm kind of curious to see what they.
Yeah, yeah. Let me know when you're going. I'll meet you down there.
All right, yeah, I'll send you a text. It'd be nice to see what's happening. Okay. Swamp Walk behind Town Hall. I can tell you that I have not had an opportunity to do anything other than what we've already done on that. We're still at the point where we have to work on the engineering of readjusting the slope. So we're going to continue that until we come up with a solid plan. Actually, we have a plan. We got to figure out how to implement it. So maybe we put together a subcommittee on that.
Yeah, I saw this thing on Facebook where they were doing something very similar to that with bottle jacks. And they had hundreds of bottle jacks all set up and they just kept jacking it up until it got to where they wanted it, shimmed it.
And that's kind of where we are, is we just need to get our hands on bottle jacks. So,
Bottle jacks, yeah.
yeah. All right. Town hall access and meeting protocols, current status. I mean, Gene, I would assume status quo.
I don't know. Nothing has changed as far as the Board of Health goes.
Okay.
And there's so many more cases and everybody in every town is in the red. So I wouldn't suggest at this point, meeting in person.
Okay. Got it. Well, that's all that we had on the agenda. Does anybody have anything for kind of an open discussion?
Actually, I do have an email that came in after the agenda was posted. We have Mr. Grenels mentioning a dock at 156 Berkshire Avenue that's still in the water. Does the Conservation Commission want to issue a letter about the ice out date of December 1st for this property?
Yes.
I would,
You would?
yes.
Go ahead.
Brian.
Can you write the letter, please, for us? Thank you.
Okay, I believe we have a standard ice out notification letter that I will send certified mail or standard.
I think standard mail. People don't open certified mail most of the time.
That's fine, yeah.
Okay.
Has anybody from the LMC gone around and just done a visual? I know we've done it in the past. Has any visuals been done? Anybody done a looper on the lake?
We have not had a meeting since the last meeting. I think we have one this Thursday. So I'll try to get you an update for the next meeting.
Yeah, if not, I don't know if Chris or Jerry's still got their boats in the water, but maybe we could take a spin around and see what's out there.
Dave, why don't you fly your drone?
The drone, right. It's back ordered, I understand. Right on. Anything else?
I have nothing.
All right, so we're looking at possibly 9 o'clock Saturday morning for a site visit. I am absolutely hardened on my calendar, so I'll be there. Marissa, you said you'll be there. Dennis will be there, and let's see if we can get some of the people that aren't on the meeting to join us so that we can move on the project. That's it. Anybody want to make a motion to close the meeting?
Make a motion to adjourn.
It's Doug here for a reason, or you're just here to help us, Doug?
Actually, I wanted to see what the open space discussion was going to be and also say hi. Haven't seen you guys in a while, so I figured I'd
Oh,
drop in. But you know, the open space one is one that's near and dear to my heart. I know you guys had a tough go of it on a kind of a difference of opinion on the golf course one. And you know, I had been on the planning board previous with a couple other subdivisions that come in. I believe the process is a little bit flawed. And so there's work to be done there. I don't know when, but it does need to be. I also happen, just full disclosure, I live off Pearl Brook, and that's one of the ones that I think wasn't done entirely correctly at the time. And, you know, someday it'll get hopefully corrected. But I think, you know, on a go forward basis, I think it's something that needs to be discussed. And my own opinion on whether in an FRD or flexible res that you need to have access to the open space is one that can be discussed, but I personally don't think it's a requirement. But that's why I wanted to partake or listen to a discussion around that. And, you know, I don't know that you need to get to the level of a subcommittee yet. If the planning board doesn't want to go there yet, but it's worth to have a discussion around just the general topics of discussion. Like, I think the primary thing is from the town perspective and also from a prospective home buyer perspective, right? Somebody takes a look at a subdivision, you know, say like the Greens, right? And there's open space and it's deeded open space or protected open space. That assumption is there that space is protected in perpetuity. And so we need to make sure as a community that we provide that, right? In the ability of the planning board and the conservation commission and any other board that has their hand in it, that those things are recorded and filed with the state such that they can be done in perpetuity. Now, whether there's access to them, you know, that's a good discussion to have from a planning perspective. The idea that you have the open space, you know, you give up, you allow smaller lots in exchange for the open space. That's fine. That's the whole premise with the FRD. And then the discussion was interesting to me, and I didn't partake in it. I just kind of watched it from the sideline about the Greens with, you know, access to it, and then there was parking and, you know, ability to have parking or ability, you know, do you really want to have, you know, the town of Southwick doesn't have parking regulations that permit parking on subdivision roads, because especially in an FRD, because the roads are narrow in the first place as part of the FRD. So if you have people parking on the roads, you actually create a safety issue. And according to what I read, the FRD bylaw itself is a little bit ambiguous if you're allowed to even provide parking on the FRD open space for use in the open space. I read it 3 times and I read it both ways. I don't know that you could probably make a convincing argument either way that you could have parking in the FRD open space or that you couldn't have parking in the open space for an FRD, just based on how it reads in the bylaw itself. So that would be a topic for discussion, you know, and whether it should be a requirement that open space should have access, or it should just be, you know, if it's deeded to a homeowner's, an HOA, homeowners association, that would be their right to keep it for, as part of the homeowners association, and not deed it to the town and not deed access to it. And I think that, again, Doug Moglen's opinion, but I think it's a great discussion to have, and it's one that should be continued. And this has always been a contentious issue between conservation and planning, but one that should be able to be overcome, because I think the goals do perfectly align here. This is not a, you know what I mean? There's not it shouldn't be a contentious issue on every one of them. And the fact that it is tells me that it needs to be addressed at some point. And,
Yeah,
you know,
so
whether
Doug,
yeah.
So Michael and I had a pretty long conversation about this, and I think it all came down to the lack of communication between the boards.
I agree.
And when we sit down and we have a conversation with principals in the project, and there's certain commitments made, we kind of owe it to the planning board to let them know about the conversations that they've had, and we didn't. And they're having conversations that really could impact where we're responsible for the subdivision, and we don't. So really, when it comes to new subdivisions, I mean, not every little thing going on in town, someone's putting up a new house. But if there's going to be a new subdivision, then yeah, there probably should be a joint meeting between conservation and planning, and maybe zoning or whoever, to say, okay, let's make sure we're all on the same page. And when it comes to public access, I think where we kind of got to was it should be done on a case-by-case basis. If there's something really of interest to the town that's in that open space, then we don't want to hold it back from the town, and we have that conversation going into it. So it shouldn't be carte blanche,
Right.
one way or
Agreed.
the other.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. And I think, you know, one thing I learned when I was on the planning board, and if, you know, I haven't been on that board now for almost 6 years, but I think the one thing that I imparted on that board at the end of my tenure that has kind of stuck is I think other boards are doing a great job of it too, is stay in your lane, right? So let the planning board do their fact finding and decisions based on the planning board rules and regulations. Let the Board of Health do the things based on Board of Health rules and regulations. Let the conservation do their things on their rules and regulations. And, you know, each one has a process that they follow. It just so happens with the open space, there tends to be just there's a touch of overlap that can make it a little sticky. So those need to be worked out. But I think of late, we've seen a lot of that. The planning board process sometimes starts even after the conservation process is concluded, so that the planning board doesn't go and change something that then impacts the conservation process that already happened, and conservation doesn't come in and change something that is impacting, you know, a subdivision plan that's already in front of the planning board and they're going through their process. And even on, you know, on the select board too, when we have a lot of discussions and talk about stuff, and, you know, I find myself telling other people, guys, stay in your lane. This isn't your thing, right? Stay, you know, this is not your area of responsibility or authority. So stay in that lane. But with this thing with the open space, because it is exactly that, and it could run up against conservation rules and conservation policy, or even open space, you know, open space committee type stuff, we should definitely have that conversation. So you're right. Maybe a roundtable is a good idea on some of these, even early on in the process, to kind of establish stakes in the ground, no pun intended, for this type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, my opinion had always been, if there's going to be a new subdivision, the town's got to get something out of it. The only people that are getting something out of it, seems is sometimes that the contractors and the developers and the homeowners. But what about the rest of the town? What's the benefit to the town? So
I guess maybe me and you have a little bit of a difference opinion on that too, but and that's fair. I just think, you know, in exchange for the open space piece, you know, the less developed land, you know, and the conservation aspects that come with that, I think that's an intrinsic value to the town. And then I always looked at, from the development perspective, is, you know, we have put forth rules and regulations that we can always go and change, but the rules and regulations that are in place are there to protect the town to the extent that the town should be protected. And I don't think that the landowner who owns the land or bought the land, and that's their retirement vehicle or that's an investment vehicle or what have you, not that they're exploiting the town, but I don't think they directly owe the town anything out of the gate, right? They bought the land, they filed, they've gone through the process, all the fees and permits and everything else that are there that they have to pay. But as far as they, they do create, they do have the ability to create a burden on the town, but that, the offsetting housing is supposed to create, a revenue offset to the town. And, Dennis and I have had spirited discussions about this, and I love them, a single family home with 2 kids is net negative to the town tax wise, right? Because they put 2 kids in the school, right? So there goes the tax revenue from it. And it, it has, ancillary burden on police, fire, and other services and stuff like that. But so you have to look at that from a tax policy and how you're going to do that. But as far as if someone files for FRD or conventional and the under the bylaws such as we have them, the planning board has the ultimate decision around whether it's going to be flex or conventional. They drive the bus on that. I don't think anybody necessarily owes the town anything intrinsically, right? There's a mutual negotiation that goes on under the special permit process for the planning board that you can extract concessions in a negotiated way. And because they do under the subdivision rules and regs has dry sewer lines and dry sidewalks on both sides of the street, neither of which are necessary in most of the subdivisions. So in exchange, they'll waive one of the sidewalks. It used to be they used to just waive it. Well, now they put it in place where they can bank money, so we can take that sidewalk dough that the developer would have paid for the other side where they wouldn't need it, and say, okay, put that in a kitty, and we can use that sidewalk money elsewhere in town. That type of concession and negotiation. But I think, and in the open space, if there's a compelling interest to increase trails or it connects to something else, and absolutely it's in everyone's interest because it is also probably marketable to the developer. But I don't think it's our place on its face to just say, well, you're going to develop here, you owe the town something.
So you wouldn't be a proponent of impact fees, then, huh, Doug?
You know what? We talked about it. No, I don't know the answer to that. We talked about it with Grinnell's, more than a decade ago. And when they were found unconstitutional in the town of Franklin, I actually did a ton of research on it. You know what? I don't say that I would be opposed to that because it's a fee and I'd have to restudy it again. But on its face, it does offset the impact, hence the term, right? But it makes more sense than saying, okay, we're just going to double everybody's property taxes, right? It kind of offsets the cost of the infrastructure necessary, whether it's water system or sewer system or, when I lived out in California, it was not uncommon because the subdivisions were much larger. They built a firehouse. It was part of the deal. They built a firehouse or they built a park. That's how it went. Or they built a police substation. That was part of the deal of development. You had to put in the firehouse, and okay. We don't have any developments that would be that impactful, but to your point, I don't know that wouldn't be a bad idea to at least have the discussion again.
Well, thanks for joining us, Doug.
Well, thanks for
Appreciate
having
having
me,
you.
and I appreciate giving me the time.
No worries, no worries. So again, anybody want to make a motion? Somebody did, didn't they?
I did.
Second? Marissa?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.